My topic is connecting number sense pre-K through 2 to the real world. I was interested in this topic because my colleague and I have discussed at length how we feel that number sense and the use of number is not being taught in a way that is helpful to our students and really helping them progress through their early elementary years. So I wanted to do some extra reading and look into maybe some suggestions of how I could have number sense and understanding of numbers be a little bit more solidified for my students. My article is Teaching Number in the Early Elementary Years. I was drawn to this article from the get-go because it related teaching number to teaching language arts, and I liked how they related it cross-curricular. It talks about how students know that the word CAT, cat, is not an actual cat, but a word to describe an object, just like the numeral 3 is not the quantity 3, but the word used to represent an amount. As teachers, we need to build a background knowledge of numbers in order for students to understand what they are and how we can use them. The article points out that students can have developmental issues with number, but that it can also be because of the way that number was used or taught to them at a young age. The article then continues on to talk about what it looks like to teach early number comprehension while still addressing the CCSM. It pointed out some things that students need to develop in order to have number comprehension. They were quantity, magnitude, verbal counting, one-to-one correspondence, subitizing, and cardinality. The article gives an example of a teacher who put the number 3 up on the board and showed 3 different manipulatives to the students and discussing that the symbol represents the number of objects. And then she could even take it further and could show the number 3 and how it could be composed by holding 3 objects in one hand, 0 in the other, or 2 in one hand and 1 in the other. So being able to give some of those examples so that they know what number actually is. The last part of the article, it continued on to talk about how with numbers, each symbol has constant meaning, but that the context of that meaning has to be understood. And reading that context is built by personal experiences, practicing, analysis of text, and in math, the number line is the context. So students begin to use the number line to relate numbers to other numbers. In my article, I was able to find a concept and relate it directly back to our textbook in a section discussing early counting. The textbook states that we need to strive to help all children develop the following 4 interrelated aspects of early numerical knowledge. Those 4 aspects were discussed in a section of my article about developing comprehension and how in order to teach any number with meaning, you need to have those aspects. Without them, students will struggle in their early elementary math classes as well as future math classes. As I looked at the 5 dimensions of a productive classroom, I decided to talk about the mathematics. Our book states that this is a developed developed procedural proficiency in conjunction with conceptual understanding as well as developed productive habits of minds through the mathematical process and practices. As I was looking at that, my article is teaching number and it has both the procedural and conceptual understanding. You have to teach the students about number and give them tools to use it properly, but then they're able to go out and use that information and that number sense to answer problems. It also talks about practicing numbers and looking at numbers in many different forms. It could be identifying it on a number line and realizing that the numbers around it are relatable, Or it could be realizing that as I look at the number 7, that it can be broken down into 3 objects plus 4 objects is going to give me the total of 7. Students have to have ways to understand what a number is. In conclusion, this article did a great job of breaking down the importance of number in early elementary. I had never thought about, building the students' background knowledge in just relation to a number. I suppose that may be because I assumed that they would already know that by second grade, but I'm starting to notice this gap and seeing where students are struggling with number sense. And so I think I'm going to have to go back a little bit and make sure that that foundation is really solid. I'm definitely going to be taking the time to make sure that they understand what's going on and that they can use all of these tools productively, which is going to hopefully lead them down a path of being successful in math. This last one here is just my references of my article and our book. Thank you.